Today on Locked On Penguins, we're going to admire Sidney Crosby for a little bit longer. We've got some news from both the AHL and the ECHL, and we're going to take a look at the week ahead. All that and more right after this.
You're Locked On Penguins, your daily podcast on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to another edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. I am one of your hosts, Patrick Damp. You can follow me across all social media platforms at Synonym for Wet. Joined today from the Dominican Republic, my co-host, the one and only Hunter Hodes. You can follow him on Twitter at Hunter Hodes. You can give our show's Twitter a follow at LO_Penguins. And of course, as always, we appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Don't forget that we are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube and the Roku channel. Plus, if you follow us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that notification button. That way you can be among the first to know when we drop our daily Monday through Friday episodes. Before we get started today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time, and it's showtime as Hunter Hodes joins us from DR. He's on a little vacation, but there is no sleep when it comes to Locked On Penguins. He's joining us from his hotel, and let's start with something kind of fun. Not that important, but it's always worth mentioning because we've only got a few years left of this, Hunter, because time waits for no man. The Penguins named a couple of team awards on Monday, Team MVP and the Unsung Players Player Award. Obviously, the team MVP goes to the captain, Sidney Crosby. He's having a pretty damn good year for being 37 years old. He has 54 assists, 81 points, 7 game-winning goals, and 4 overtime winners. There is absolutely no question who the Penguins MVP is, and that is, of course, Sidney Crosby. I really don't know what I can add at this point, but again, we have been incredibly lucky these past 20 years, and the fact that, has he lost about a half of a step or so the last couple seasons? Sure. Is he still one of the top 10 best players in the NHL? Absolutely. So we got to appreciate this greatness while it's still here, and it's still on full display, even in a season that's been pretty disappointing for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh, 1,000,000%. And Pat, I wouldn't even say it's top 10. I think he's still a top 5 player in the league, and you can make an argument that he is top 3. Also, I'm talking over some little bit of music playing, I think, at the main pool at this resort. So if anyone hears some little music in the background, that's what it is. I don't really want to record in the room just because a little bit messy, but I figured I'd come out here on my balcony and record. So yeah, just wanted to put that out there to start today's show. But yeah, this was Captain Obvious. You have to give the team MVP award to Sidney Crosby. 27 goals, 81 points this season, and I think he's going to hit 90 plus this year. Pat, he has a point in 14 of his last 15 games. During that time, 9 goals and 12 assists. So 21 points in his last 15 games. I know it sucks that they're not going to make the playoffs this year, but I will never get tired of watching Sidney Crosby play at this level. I still think he's going to play at this level next year as well. Again, it continues to remind me so much of, late stage LeBron James now with the Los Angeles Lakers, late stage Tom Brady as well, whether it was with the Patriots or the Buccaneers. The similarities are literally right in front of you with how great, again, LeBron is still playing and how great Brady played towards the end of his career before he retired from the NFL. So congratulations to Sid. Very job well done. And as I said, Pat, very obvious that this was going to go to Sid. He's been by far and away the Penguins' best player all year.
Yeah, if there's anyone else you could potentially make a case for, I think it's his most common line mates in Rickard Rakell and Brian Rust, both of which are having phenomenal seasons, but not quite to the level of the captain. So that top line, at least when it's been intact, because we know there's been some injuries, there's been some line shuffling, especially in the last game with two of the young guns up in Rutger McGroarty and Ville Koivunen. But at the end of the day, he's having a phenomenal season. And like you said, it really is reminiscent of Tom Brady. I know that's verboten to say in Pittsburgh because of how much he tormented the Steelers as well as the rest of the NFL. Let's call a spade a spade. It wasn't like we were the only victims of the Tom Brady Patriots. The entire National Football League had to suffer through that reign of terror. And also with LeBron in with the Lakers or the Cavs or the Heat, whomever he's played for, he's continually been arguably the best basketball player on earth. And Sidney Crosby is right there in that stratosphere with those same names, those same players, a level of greatness that you just have to appreciate. The other one that the Penguins announced was their Team Players Player Award, kind of the unsung hero. And for us, he has definitely been a whipping boy on this podcast, sometimes rightfully so, sometimes a little bit ridiculous, but that went to Noel Acciari. He actually is one of just 3 players this season to have played in every game thus far. He has not missed any games, and he leads the team in hits with 168 and blocked shots with 98. I'll say this about Noel Acciari. He's at this is in a way, and everybody follow me on this all the way down the rabbit hole, because when I open this statement, it's going to sound ridiculous, but just hang with me. He's at the end of his career, much like Sidney Crosby. Whereas Sidney Crosby, still genuinely great, still one of the top 5, top 10, debate amongst yourself players in the league. Noel Acciari, on the other hand, he's slowed down. He's not really that much of an effective forward anymore. He's a 4th liner at best, but the effort is there, and that is always a nice recognition to get from your teammates. He gives you an honest effort every night. It may not be up to the level to make this team competitive. It may not be up to the level where he's effective, but there is a level of appreciation from his teammates, from the coaching staff, from the organization, that he's not cheating the game. He's not trying to do too much. He's not playing lazy. He's not just there to get his check and ride off into the sunset. And I get it. The game is to win. The goal is to win. When you're in an organization like the Penguins, there's a high standard. But when you're a player who time is eventually coming for you, if you're still going to give an effort, especially in a lost season, there's a level of appreciation there from his teammates. And I'll say it here from me as well.
Yeah, I think the big thing is how fans view him versus how his teammates view him. Obviously, they really like him quite a lot, especially in the locker room, on the ice. He, I think, in a way, is a little bit of a leader for some of these younger players. But you're right, Pat. He is at the end of his career. He has slowed down. And also, he's just not very good anymore. Like, I get why they gave out this award to Acciari. I get it. But also at the same time, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or a party pooper or anything like that, he's just not very good. Doesn't bring any of the offense. Even on the penalty kill, Pat, like, I looked at the numbers throughout the season. He's been one of their worst penalty killers throughout the season. Brian Rust also is up there too. So I'm not giving a lot of players a pass on the PK because it's actually gotten worse as the season has gone on. But has it been good in that situation? It is good. He does block shots. He brings a physical presence. But sooner than later, you do have to bring more to the lineup. Again, I'm not disrespecting his teammates who are voting for him for this award. They obviously love him. I will never, ask them to apologize for something like that. That would make literally no sense. But you can tell father time is coming for him. And we do have to see, Pat, will he be on this roster next year? Still has 1 more year left on the contract. I'm not sure. Like, I think his spot could really open up for a younger player potentially next season, whether that's acquired via trade or whether it's someone coming up from Wilkes-Barre, for example. We'll have to see. But yeah, we'll just congratulate him for this award, even though, in my opinion, I don't want to sound mean. I think it's a little silly, but I don't want to be mean.
For sure. It's both something the team has done forever, and it's also from someone who has worked in this sport before, obviously at the minor league level, it's a sponsorship activation thing. There's sponsorships attached to this. It's so you can give your corporate sponsors a picture to hang up in the office of, oh, look, we presented this award to Sidney Crosby and we presented this award to Noel Acciari. But that aside, you brought up something real quick to end this segment that I have been saying for quite a while. I look at guys like Noel Acciari and a couple others who understandably are whipping boys for the fan base because their performance hasn't been all that fantastic. But to me, over the next year or two, with this youth movement underway, with them stockpiling prospects, draft picks, and everything else that they're going to do to get younger players within the system, there is a value to having players like Noel Acciari around, because we talked about the quote from Rutger McGroarty of, oh, it's my 21st birthday. I'm sitting next to Sidney Crosby in the locker room and I'm on a line with him in the National Hockey League. It's the greatest gift ever. That's a little bit of being starstruck. And as good as mentors and examples as these guys will set, it's a damn near unattainable bar, especially if you're a middle six forward or just a top six winger that's not a generational player. You want to aspire to that and you want to train towards that and you want to work towards that. But you also need to talk to some guys who might be suitcases, some guys who have had to work extra hard to not only make it to the league, but stay in the league. That has its value for these younger players. And while the Penguins are not trying to win right now, you're probably going to see some players like that over the next couple seasons who you're going to look at that signing or that acquisition and you're going to shake your head and think, what really does this guy bring? And it's going to be more of an intangible thing for the younger guys of, this guy's going to keep you honest. This guy's going to mentor you. This guy's going to show you the other side of being in the National Hockey League, where you're not a franchise player. You're not the guy that they're putting the saddle on, but you're a guy who's going to play a pivotal role, and these guys have throughout their career. But that is going to do it for our first segment. When we come back, couple of news and notes from both the AHL and the ECHL. Hunter and I will dive into those when we come back, so stick with us. But first, we've got to tell you about today's first sponsor, and that is Monarch Money. Have you ever checked your bank account and wondered, where did all of my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's really easy to lose track, and that is where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you just stop managing your money and start building wealth. The all-in-one convenience is absolutely perfect for me. Instead of jumping back and forth between banking apps, credit card apps, whatever budgeting app I'm using, I can use Monarch Money to check my finances, track my spending, and plan my long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off for your first year. All right, welcome back to the Tuesday edition of Locked On Penguins. I'm Patrick Damp in chilly, dreary Pittsburgh, joined by Hunter Hodes from what looks to be a pretty sunny and warm DR. So
it's 85 degrees here, not a cloud in the sky. Can't relate.
Yeah, it's 40 degrees here, and it's kind of dreary and gross. But welcome to April in Pittsburgh. So let's dive into a couple of things that came out the last couple days with the ECHL and the AHL. Let's start down in the wheel with the boys in Wheeling, West Virginia. Big honor for Taylor Gauthier, who has been named the ECHL Goaltender of the Week. Nearly perfect last weekend against both the Cincinnati Cyclones in both of those games, turning away 42 of 43 shots. And he got his second shutout of the season. And he is third on the team's all-time list for shutouts, and he has been absolutely fantastic. He had a shutout streak that lasted for 122 minutes and 54 seconds. Cyclones ultimately get a goal, but this is something that really has to be talked about with the Penguins organization right now. There is a lot of negative. They're obviously not going to make the playoffs. We're betting on a lot of young players to develop into future contributors to get this team back up to contention. But if there is one absolutely strong suit, at least down on the farm, it's goaltending, man, because you've got Taylor Gauthier, you have got Yoel Blomqvist, Sergei Murashov, you've got Philip Larson. There's a lot of goaltending talent in this pipeline.
They got to figure this out this offseason, man. I don't think they're going to be able to bring back that tandem with Jari and Nedeljkovic, nor should they, by the way, with how inconsistent both goalies have been this season, especially Tristan Jari. But I can also say the same for Alex Nedeljkovic. Every single time he would go on a little bit of a heater, he would turn back into a pumpkin. We've seen Tristan Jari, even coming back from Wilkes-Barre, had a little bit of a heater, had 2 really bad starts, and then just had, obviously, a shutout after that. But, again, as we said for our Monday show, it's kind of all or nothing with Jari. Ned, there's at least a little bit in the middle, but still, it's low-key kind of the same with him. So they're going to have a lot to figure out with this goaltending situation over the summer here. You know, Taylor Gauthier, I mean, last year, Pat, he was the ECHL goalie of the year, and he was fantastic last year. 2.23 goals against average, 9.23 save percentage. This year, he's played in 27 games, goals against average of about 2, 9.28 save percentage. I think it's clear at this point that he is probably too good for the ECHL. He probably should be in Wilkes-Barre, but they're just so backed up right now. Sergei Murashov is off to one heck of a start with Wilkes-Barre. He also showed this season that he was too good for the ECHL. But we also wanted to see that. We expected Murashov to start in Wheeling just to get his first taste of North American hockey. And it quickly became apparent that, okay, he's way too talented for this league. He's literally just eating these players up every single night with the saves that he's making. Called him up to Wilkes-Barre. He's played just as well. And I think, in my opinion, he's going to get the start for game 1 of the Calder Cup playoffs, as he should. I think you need to throw him to the Wolves and see what he can do in those high-stakes games. Is it a little bit unfair for Larson and Blomqvist? Yeah, but you know what? You got to ride the hot hand in the situation. So someone was always going to get the short end of the stick this year, just with how deep they are at this position in all 3 leagues. And unfortunately, it has been Gauthier a little bit. But I will say this, Matt. He will start in the Calder Cup playoffs, and I'm excited to see what he can do with that. It's just something that's going to have to come to a head this summer at some point with all the depth in the system.
I look at it very similarly to the way I look at all the draft picks that they have over the next 3 years. I understand the excitement. I'm absolutely part of it. There's a lot of really good goaltending talent in the Penguins system, but I kind of look at it, like I said, the way I do with all of the draft picks that they have over the next 3 years. I feel like Sergei Murashov is untouchable. He is probably the guy that they're looking at to be their goaltender of the future, and probably the same for Yoel Blomqvist. So when it comes to Gauthier and Larson, I wouldn't be shocked to see them moved at some point over the next year or two, because you're not going to be able to get all of them to where you want them to go. Now, I don't know if they have any future designs on Gauthier becoming an NHL goaltender. And if there's one thing we know about Kyle Dubas, and you can look at it as a fatal flaw, you can look at it as whatever you want to look at it as, he does right by players. If he sees a guy is not going to fit in, or he's not going to be part of the long-term future, or he's just not going to get a chance, he's going to move them. He's probably going to send them somewhere where they're going to get a shot. And when you look at the Penguins goaltending pipeline, Gauthier and Larson probably are the 2 odd men out, because Blomqvist now has NHL experience, and he's shown that at the very least there's potential there. He struggled his second time up, but early this season he was pretty solid. Obviously, we have seen that Murashov dominated the ECHL. He is currently dominating the AHL. He's probably going to get the goal. They're going to get in the net for the Calder Cup playoffs. So that leaves you with Larson and Gauthier. And I think that, at least with Larson, there's a lot of potential there. He stole the net from Yoel Blomqvist this year. It looked like it was going to be Blomqvist's net. Larson plays so well, they can't deny putting him in the net. And if you look at where the Penguins want to go, Goaltending is a tough thing to really get in your organization. And now they have a wealth of it. So you could probably flip him with picks, another prospect, something to get something good. And there's going to be a team out there that is going to need a goaltender in the next 3 to 4 years. And you could probably sell them on that. So if you're a fan, obviously enjoy the excitement, enjoy the potential, but try not to fall in love with those two, because it wouldn't shock me to see one of them, if not, maybe not both of them, move, just because if your goal, as stated, is to get this team at least somewhat close to back to contention before Sidney Crosby retires, that is something that could probably kickstart that.
And I like Yoel Blomqvist as well, but I think right now Marashov has more raw talent than he does. So I wouldn't also be surprised if they maybe dangled Blomqvist a little bit in trade talks. I don't know. I don't think they'll move him as of right now. I still think they may want to get another goalie coach in here to see what he can do with these young goalies, because I think it's past time for Andy Chiodo to go. It feels like, especially these last few years, the goalies that the Penguins have had, especially at the Maine NHL level, have really not been getting any better. I mean, for example, Tristan Jarry's been getting worse since his Penguins tenure has gone on. Nedeljkovic, very up and down. I don't think has taken a really big step forward as a goalie with the Penguins. He stabilized them a little bit at times, but I still want a lot more from the goalie coach moving forward. So, again, I think they could look to dangle Blomqvist, but I also could see them maybe keeping him and adding a new goalie coach to work with him a little bit, because it was obvious when he was up here, he needs a lot of work with his blocker side. Again, which is why I think right now Marashov, he is the more raw talent. Yeah, his rebound control is sometimes a little bit shaky, but honestly, I was watching him this past weekend. I'm really not that concerned about it at this point. He's just such a freak of an athlete with the way he moves in the crease. Again, continues to remind me so much of UC Saros. So, again, it'll have to come to a head at some point, but that's more of a discussion for the offseason. Congratulations to Taylor Gauthier. And Pat, before we head to break, we do have to mention Wilkes-Barre has added Nolan Renwick to the roster for the rest of the 24-25 season and into the playoffs. He just played for the University of Maine this year. 9 goals, 24 points in 38 games. He was also with Maine last year and the year before. He's actually with Maine the last 4 years, if I'm being completely honest. Always good when you can add a young player like this and see what he can do against professionals now. So those are just my main thoughts on that.
Yep. And just to make sure it's out there, why did his season at Maine come to an end? It came to an end at the hands of the Penn State men's hockey team, who is getting set to take on Boston University in the Frozen Four with a chance to go to the national championship. But to the signing itself, you can't be mad at this. It's a very no risk, high reward kind of situation. Maybe he turns into something. Maybe he is just an ATO that goes on to do something else somewhere, but solid career for him at Maine. 132 career games, 66 points, 24 goals, 42 assists. So nice little signing for the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins as they head into the Calder Cup playoffs to see what they got as they look to win the Calder Cup. But that is going to do it for this middle segment. When we come back, we're going to take a quick look at the week ahead for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So stick with us. We are going to do that right after this. But first, we got to tell you about the last sponsor of the day, and that is Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. So if you're looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious, crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. They're also packed with fiber and the better for you unsaturated fats that help keep you feeling fuller longer. I love the no shells variety, whether I'm on a road trip, sitting at my desk at work and just need that quick snack. It's right there for me. It gives me that boost of protein that I need during a long work day. So it's great. It's fantastic. I'm a huge fan. And if you like cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell option is always a classic favorite. So get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, welcome back. It's the Thursday edition of Locked On Penguins. I'm Patrick Damp alongside the vacationing Hunter Hodes, and it is going to be a bit of an easier week, so to say, for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Only 3 games on the docket, but they do have a weekend back-to-back. Before we get to that, though, they will start the week on Thursday in St. Louis against maybe the hottest team in the National Hockey League. Can you hear that? It's 2019 calling again, where the St. Louis Blues, in the lead up to the trade deadline, look like they're absolutely cooked. They sort of kind of sell at the deadline. Jordan Binnington decides to become a great goaltender again, and all of a sudden, they're looking like a threat in the Western Conference. So that'll be a challenging game in St. Louis on Thursday night. Then they continue this little road trip with weekend back-to-back. They've got another very good team, one of the best teams in the West, in the Dallas Stars, in Dallas at 3 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. And then they head to Chicago on Sunday. For the first time, they will see Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. So this will be an interesting week for the Penguins. They're obviously off today and tomorrow, have not played since Sunday. Then they'll head to St. Louis. So going to be some challenges ahead for the Pittsburgh Penguins.
I cannot stand the NHL schedule for this reason. We're into April now, and they still haven't played the Blackhawks yet. I know it's so random, but can we not do this at the end of the season? This should be the final meeting, Pat, against the Blackhawks. We shouldn't be playing them twice at the end of the season. It's just such a small complaint, but it makes me laugh that the Penguins haven't even seen the Blackhawks yet this season. The Blackhawks continue to be one of the worst teams in the league. Connor Bedard, he has still been very good, though. I've enjoyed watching him throughout the season. I think he's gotten some unfair flack from some national media members. I mean, he's playing with Ilya Mikheyev and Ryan Donato on the top line. And no disrespect to Ryan Donato, he is having a career year this year. 29 goals, 59 points in 72 games. He's also shooting 17% this year. So I think that's probably going to regress a little bit next season. I will give him credit, though, because he's having a good year. But throughout his career, he's never been a top line winner, people. So I think people just need to chillax a little bit on the criticism to Connor Bedard. They still need to add a lot of high-end talent. But that's still going to be a fun game. The Penguins, they're weird against the Blackhawks over the last several years, Pat. Like, that's one of the teams that they've, especially these last few years, they've struggled against for whatever reason. I don't know. Even when the Blackhawks have been one of the worst teams in the league for these past few seasons, they've still struggled a little bit against them. The Blues, though, you're right. They are red hot. Dylan Holloway continues to be such a revelation for the Blues this year after signing that offer sheet. And hopefully more GMs will go out of their way to offer sheet other GMs, seeing how successful Holloway has been with the Blues. 26 goals, 62 points in 75 games. He is tied for second on the team in scoring with Jordan Kyrou. Robert Thomas is having another good year, 19 goals, 68 points in 63 games. Braden Shen has also been really good. They had a high price on him at the deadline. The Penguins did just beat the Blues at home. I think the Penguins, when you look at the score effects, they were outplayed, but A, they got the goaltending, and B, they got the timely scoring. That's why they won that game against the Blues. But this one, going to be a lot tougher, especially, Pat, with how the Blues have been playing as of late. This has been, again, one of the best teams in hockey these last few weeks, honestly, ever since the Four Nations break. And I think right now they are in the driver's seat to make the playoffs in the Western Conference. I think if they get wild card 2, I think the Jets would beat them in 6 games, but I think they will be 6 very tough games. I think the Blues would give them a fight. Don't think they're going to win a round, though, but still. Jim Montgomery has done a really good job, especially with Colton Parayko out. That team is still very stingy to play against. It's going to be another big test for the Penguins. And then the Dallas Stars, very potent up front. Their back end, when Miro Heiskanen is healthy, is strong. But as we all know, he's been a bit banged up here in the second half. So it is, as of right now, a little bit weaker. I mean, you look at their depth chart right now. Their right side is Cody Ceci, Matt Dumba, Ilya Lyubushkin. Not really strong there, but they still have Thomas Harley playing top pairing minutes. Once Heiskanen comes back, you're going to move Harley down a little bit, and then your defense obviously looks a lot better since he's one of the 5 best defensemen on the planet, in my opinion. I think we might get Colorado-Dallas round 1, which, by the way, sign me up, my friend, if we get that.
Banger.
The Mikko Rantanen Revenge Series will know no bounds, and there's rumors that Gabe Landeskog could be returning for the playoffs. He's been really ramping it up in practice. That would be such a feel-good story, by the way, considering how much he's been through the last few years. Seeing him play again for Colorado would be awesome. I really hope he's able to return for the playoffs. But yeah, man, three teams this week, all in the Western Conference. Penguins, again, they beat the Blues earlier this season, but it's going to be that much tougher on the road. And the Stars, I mean, remember earlier this season, Pat, that was one of the most embarrassing efforts of the season for the Penguins at PPG Paints Arena. So I want to see a much better showing against that Stars team. And then for Chicago, they're weird against them these last few years, but still pretty winnable game this weekend, even though it's a road back-to-back. It's funny, a lot of road games to end the season here. Penguins only have 3 home games remaining for the rest of the season, people, if you can believe it.
Yeah, it's crazy that we're already here. It felt like we just started this season with our bold predictions, but here we are with only a handful of games remaining in the NHL season, and then we'll head to the off season. But that is going to do it for our Tuesday edition of the Locked On Penguins podcast. We will be back with a brand new episode for you tomorrow. It's also going to be a Wednesday, so you know what that means. It's Team MVP week. For Warrior Helmet Wednesday, we'll give out our MVP of the week and whatever else happens between now and then. But for Hunter Hodes, I'm Patrick Damp. Thank you as always for tuning in. We will be back on Wednesday.